right, y'all. What's good? This your boy Hood, man. I gotta holler at y'all about this little quick subject. You know, I've always been a fan of Dipset, Camron, all those guys in the early 2000s. And they ended up having a big swing around about '08 when uh, uh, Jim Jones came out with his song Ballin' and it took over. I ended up being in New York that year and that particularly riding through the city, hearing it on the radio, and then seeing the signs of him, like the pictures of Ballin' all over the New York, you know, those big old poster signs they had of him. Just so happened, and I just never forgot how electric that time frame was, because obviously we was bumping it in Chicago, and then when I got there to New York, it was like, damn, that dude. I didn't know that they had that much of a big, what they call it, a marketing campaign out there for him, which the song was huge. And then at that time, 50 Cent was on his trajectory. He was already doing his thing. And they had the beef, you know. 50 Cent, in case you don't know, 50 Cent got on BET for like a video countdown, and in the beginning of it, he said, "I got a surprise for y'all. So stay tuned." So, you know, we watching the video countdown, and then all of a sudden they come back. "I told y'all I had a surprise. What it's gonna be." So Jim Jones walks out the back of the one of the doors and come into the area where 50 Cent at. Pause, and he's like, "I told y'all I had a surprise," and it's like a shock. The reason why it's a shock because maybe about a few months earlier, Jim Jones and Cameron had called to the radio station Andrew Martinez show. When they called up there, 50 Cent was up there, and Cameron actually snapped off on 50 Cent, snapping about some guy named Grumblatt who owned a record company called Koch at that time. And it was really, 50 Cent was kind of caught off guard. But eventually 50 Cent jumped into the beef with Cameron and they started beefing. Well, nobody really heard what was the reason for that shit because it was kind of like day little New York shit. We didn't know. It just happened. And then you saw that Cameron wasn't too tight with the guys after that. So you see it was a riff. So it looked like 50 Cent won that beef ultimately. So that's when now, recent days, they got their new show, Camron and them. It Is What It Is. And on that show, 50 Cent came on there to interview with Camron, which it was a beef for years. So now it's supposed to be like the beef is over. So now obviously the big question is, how did you feel when Jim Jones showed up on the show years ago, and it was a beef happening? So they talked about it, and in that conversation, he kind of dissed a little bit Jim Jones. It was like a betrayal, you know what I'm saying? That's how everybody felt, but Jim Jones never really talked about it. He kind of played low-key about it too, because must have been a beef inside their crew, but you know, people probably got over the beef over the years. So now it's internet time, so the shit is information. So he kind of dissed Jim Jones a little bit, saying that it was kind of betrayal to what he did, and you know, whatever. Because Jim Jones, Cameron is back cool with Mase, but at that time, Mase and him wasn't cool. He was more kicking it with Jim Jones and them. But now they cool, they got a podcast, It Is What It Is, and Jim Jones is not a part of that. So now Jim Jones responded to the fact that those two, 50 Cent and Cameron, was talking about that actual moment when he showed up on the show. And he basically was like, Jim Jones said at that time he had that song Ballin', and he expected to do what artists do. So he didn't know why Camron would actually try to start a beef with the guy who got the biggest concerts. He's doing all this big shit. This supposed to be my moment. Like, you know, I basically was security or like your hitman or your capo, as he called himself. But now I get to be a godfather. I get to be at the top. I get to be a celebrity. So you should support me. And Jim Jones, Cameron ended up starting a beef, which was supposed to still a rift between them, which wouldn't allow Jim Jones to actually do concerts and kick it and make money with him having the biggest song in the country. So he was like, "I'm not finna let that happen. This is like basically you finna cut into me." He said that you calling me the co-CEO, but we ain't got no paperwork. I'm not making that kind of money. And basically everything is benefiting you. Even that contract that you dissing the white guy at Koch is actually benefiting you. Whatever deals that happen, it's not benefiting me. So he went and got with 50 Cent because he's like, this is my chance. You know what I'm saying? I'm finna use this chance to, you know, be big. And, you know, I'm an artist at this point. What the hell would I not get the moments to perform at the biggest stages and make this money? Like, why would you beef with him? And then the diss part came when he said, if something happened, you wouldn't have did nothing. He said, it ain't like you would have did some shit. If it would have popped off and turned into some street shit with us between me and 50, you wouldn't have did nothing. It would have been on me. So why would you do this? He said, I thought that was some weak shit that he did. So I went over there and I jumped in a car with 50 so I can make that money and do concerts and make money because I had to look out for me. And it's like really a crazy revelation because it's like, damn, I thought they was at least tight, or you would think that one guy rich, that the other guy paid. But money is a weird thing. It's a weird thing because even if, let's just say, Jim Jones, let's say Camron made $25 million and he gave Jim Jones $5 million, that still probably wouldn't be the great weight. You could see him buying yachts and shit, and you got 5 million on. If you buy a yacht, you're probably gonna bump down to 1 million left. So ultimately, you could still find the jealousy. You could still find the uncomfortable. You could still find it where money could be a rift. You know what I'm saying? Let's say they had even money. Hey, okay, I'm gonna give you this. You gonna give you that. We even now. Okay, we buddies forever because I gave you exactly what I got. It could still become a rift because it'd be like, well, shit, damn, I didn't know that something was going to happen like this in my family, and so I might need some of that money back. And it's like, well, you can't get it, but this is my payment. Well, shit, but you saw what just happened to my family, and if we buddies, you would do this. We still working. I can't do that. I got to take care of my own people. And so it's like, what do you mean, nigga? So anything could happen with money. It's so many stories. There's so many ways that it could always turn bad. So I guess maybe over the time they became friends, but that thing just never left. And so now Jim Jones, Cameron rather having that interview with 50 Cent kind of like boils it back up and boils over. So you can see that Cameron never really got over that. And now he's back in an up position. We're making big money. He back in a car with Cameron. His boy Mase, that they kind of could throw Jim Jones under the bus and be like, yeah, we really didn't need you no way all the time. You know what I'm saying? And that's easy to say that to somebody. He probably didn't have the original talent. He probably wasn't the focal point. But when it came down to having somebody who needed to beef with you, because that's what hip hop was at that moment, he was the man. But now you past that point. It's not a threat. It's not nobody trying to get at you. There ain't no beef and people trying to see you when you coming down. So it's not no necessary need for somebody to be you a muscle. So it's like, go ahead on, dude. You know what I'm saying? And that muscle could feel like, hey, yeah, you could play with me like that on the internet, but you know what'll happen if I see you. And there's another thing that Cameron said. That Jim Jones said. He said, the guy who interviewed him said, what you think would have happened? They didn't say nothing when you was over there? He said Jim Jones said they better not have said nothing. What you think they was going to say? He said anybody would have said something. They knew what it would have been. If anybody would have said something to me, he said them niggas couldn't have told me nothing. So that kind of was another little diss, like saying like, even though I wasn't the number one guy, I still basically would have slapped the hell out of whoever in the business of our crew who had a problem in any kind of capacity, and everybody knew it. Now I didn't put that out there and be like, and he said it happened before. And if you think it didn't, ask him. And I'm like, damn. So it seemed like he making it seem like him and Cameron had beef at one point, friends still. But when it came down to it, he made Cameron know who the boss was. And if you ever play with me, boy, it can go bigger than that. So that was what you would call like an undercut, deep beef, a diss, even though he still said, I got love for them and I want them to succeed and all that. So sometimes the interviews can be kind of emotionally, like jarring because they got you kind of up and down, touching in the moments and feelings that you probably haven't really delved into in a while. And then somebody mentioned something or got you going, and now you saying shit you probably shouldn't say. It could put wedges in between friendships that you probably don't want to lose. You know what I'm saying? But it is what it is, and that's the name of the podcast for Camron and Mase. So y'all gotta let me know what y'all think about Jim Jones and his situation with them. Should they all get back cool, or should they just, let that thing die down? It's old, it's from the past. Everybody knew, everybody older, everybody grown, and you don't need other people to make it or succeed. It's just those people from your past. So let me know what y'all think.